Hello, and welcome to Openly Gamer Theater's production of The Stygian Fragment, a Call of Cthulhu roleplay drama.
This is Mike, and I'm playing Father Evan Daniel Leary.
Hello, this is Dan, and I am playing Phineas Lockwood.
This is Brandon. I'll be playing Clarence Rouse.
This is Shannon. I'm playing Julia Margaret Barnes.
This is Jayson. I'm playing Jack Houston Smith.
And I'm Shawn. I'm playing Robert Louis Covington.
Be warned, the following content may not be suitable for all audiences.
Rain hammered my car as we pulled up to the 1800 block of Arsenal and parked across the street from a 3-story apartment building. Clarence showed me the card with the address of Dorian Daly written on it, 1820. We sat there until we saw the form of Finn Lockwood hastily dive from a taxicab and under an awning that protected the small stoop of the building. Everyone else had made their way across the street and stood next to Finn by the time I had secured my vehicle and made it over there. Clarence held up the card with the address on it. Finn flicked a thumb towards a set of stairs just to the left of the stoop, leading down.
It's a basement apartment because they give shitty basement apartments letters instead of numbers.
We filed down the steps, Clarence in the lead. Julia pulled a key from her bag and handed it to Rouse, who took it, slipped it into the deadbolt, and smoothly unlocked it with a click. Being the third person in, I bumped into Julia when she stopped short, just inside the door. The reason for her reaction was quickly apparent as the wave of odor hit me, sour and musty like an animal den. Clarence reached over into the dark and flipped a switch. A loud pop sounded, and the stench of the apartment was briefly replaced with a strong ozone smell. The single light bulb sizzled as it flickered, suspended by a coiled wire from the ceiling, illuminating the single-room apartment of Dorian Daly. Every flat surface moved as the vermin reacted to the sudden shattering of their shadowed safety. Tidiness, it seems, was not a priority of Mr. Daly. Wadded, grimy clothes were strewn on the floor, covering crusted plates of half-eaten food, open tin cans, and what appeared, from a distance, to be a used piss pot, sitting next to a brown-streaked bare mattress. It wasn't Daly's lack of housekeeping skills that caught our attention, though. As jarring as the poor condition of the apartment was, it was the walls. What covered them froze us in our tracks, rendering us speechless. Pictures, newspaper clippings, all pinned up with the manic handwriting scrawled in seemingly random places around them. There were grotesque, disturbing images drawn on scraps of paper. Some looked as if they were begun on the paper and then continued onto the wall where the scrap couldn't contain the artist's dark creation. The most prominent and disturbing was multiple renditions of the toad-like idol in various forms and surrounded by maddening designs. The chaotic nature, the sheer lunacy of the sight, made me very edgy. When I step in the doorway and I see all this craziness, I draw from under my jacket my .45 automatic.
What kind of archaeologist travels with a .45 automatic?
Is there a problem?
The kind of archaeologist that's been all over the world.
All right, well, put that thing away before somebody gets hurt.
South America, I've been there.
I started taking pictures of everything.
Julia's camera flashed periodically. Every time it did, it revealed a new maddening detail that slowly faded into darkness as my eyes readjusted to the poorly lit room. and I would begin to focus on something else. Then pop! The effect was quite nauseating. I decided to focus my attention on the pin display, not individually, but as a composition. Many pictographic displays have deeper meaning if seen as a whole. As I stepped back and changed my perspective, it became clear. There were a pair of focal points, an interwoven symmetry that converged on two particular pieces. The first and most obvious was a worn black-on-black card, an invitation, tacked among a swirling design painted on the wall. The tendrils of the pattern acted as links to other works and pieces, like the spiraling branches of some dark tree. The other, much more subtle, was among a grouping of photographs. It was faded, to the point where it was hard to determine exactly what the subject was. Only after a very close inspection could I see that it was a dark, veiled person sitting on a high-backed throne. The pictures around it were of people, taken from afar. Each had a name written on it, identifying who it was. Charles Falstaff, Vivian Falstaff, Thomas Rice, A.G. Grant, Oliver Laclede, Archibald Laclede. Julia stopped taking photos and began looking at the newspaper clippings. As I approached her, she pointed out to me that they were all arranged in chronological order, some with writing accompanying them, like a commentary on the articles themselves. Lockwood turned his attention to the rest of the apartment as we continued to study the wall. I couldn't tell if he was being thorough or was creeped out by the display. I looked at Julia, who was pointing at the photo of the dark-veiled man.
I take a picture of that one. Actually, I'll just take it off the wall.
There's your black-veiled prophet.
Well,
Have
thanks.
you seen this man before?
Thanks,
Look at the invitation.
She looked closely at the picture, flicking it with a lacquered nail.
Do either of you who are at the party know this man?
I don't think it exists. It's a figurehead. This guy was crazy.
It's an actual picture.
Look around. This guy was clearly crazy, and he needed an outlet for his problems. And he found this old photograph, and everything just kind of lines up. That's all I'm saying. This guy was crazy.
That doesn't mean we can't glean information from what he's found.
Weren't you at a event where, I don't know how many people were there, but 2 to 3 people lived?
Apparently more. It seems like people keep popping up. I don't know.
So it wasn't that bad a thing, is that what you're saying?
Maybe. Maybe it was. I didn't stick around to find out.
Okay, I'm just going to shrug Mr. Lockwood off, and we can still find something here, and then I'm going to go to, the earliest news clippings and see what there is.
I stepped beside her, reading the articles as she frantically notated the details of each one of them.
March 20th, 1920. Headline: Falstaff heiress dead. Alice Rice, née Falstaff, 28, took her own life yesterday in her family home. A spokesman for the Falstaff family stated that Mrs. Rice had been suffering from exhaustion and in a fit of hysteria shot herself in the chest with a revolver. The fact that her method of suicide mirrors that of her father, William Sr., does not seem to be a coincidence.
Whoa. Doesn't sound like a suicide to me.
No.
The man in my office shot himself in the chest.
In the chest? Who does that?
Crazy
Apparently
people. Crazy people.
Barely legible, written on the wall beneath it was the word suicide with a large question mark. We moved on to the next cluster of articles.
June 22nd, 1920. Headline: Fire kills revelers in cave. A deadly fire tore through the Cherokee Club late last night. Initial reports from the police and fire department state that the number of dead is 20, but admit that the number may rise as they're still in the process of looking for victims. Sources in the police claim that the Cherokee Club, a restaurant located at 421 Cherokee Street, was actually the front for an illegal drinking establishment located at the caves beneath. So far, only 2 survivors have been recovered, though their names have not been released at this time. December 29th, 1922. Headline: William Falstaff dead. William Falstaff Jr., 41, president of the Falstaff Brewing Company, was accidentally shot late last night in his office. A spokesman for the Falstaff family stated that William was cleaning his revolver when the weapon fired. He was shot in the chest and died instantly. He's survived by his wife Vivian and his son William III. February 28th, 1925. Headline: Falstaff heir murdered. Louis Falstaff, 35, heir to the Falstaff fortune, was found murdered in his Webster Groves home. Sources claim that Louis was found by his servants. There are speculations that he was tortured prior to his death. A police spokesman states they have several solid leads and they will soon have someone in custody. The Falstaff family declined to comment. March 1st, 1925. Headline: Falstaff murderer shot. Police identified Robert Regan, a vagrant who worked for Louis Falstaff, as the brewery heir's killer. Regan was cornered in an abandoned building near Arsenal Street, where he was shot and taken into custody. Regan is currently at the Alexan Brothers Hospital where he is being treated for his wounds and being evaluated for insanity. January 18th, 1926. Business section. Falstaff Mansion to be restored. Charles Falstaff, heir to the Falstaff fortune, has hired a prominent construction firm, Geekery Brothers, to handle the $1 million project.
I bet that's when that guy got his job.
March 9th, 1927. Obituary. William Channing Webb died at the age of 91. A renowned scholar and professor of anthropology at Princeton University, William is survived by 2 nephews. Funeral arrangements are pending.
Professor Webb, he was well respected in our field. He's a well-known anthropologist and an expert on the occult. I know he created some kind of an uproar right after the turn of the century about some idol that he found relating to tribes in Greenland.
May 16th, 1927. Headline: Falstaff killer dies in asylum. Robert Regan, convicted of the murder of Louis Falstaff, was killed yesterday during a patient revolt at the St. Louis County Insane Asylum. The cause of the revolt is unknown. Asylum staff state that for no apparent reason, the patient suddenly became increasingly agitated and violent. Several staff members and patients were injured, though Mr. Regan was the only fatality.
The last 3 entries, the most recent, were circled in red.
June 8th, 1927. Headline: Son of National Candy Company kidnapped. Leonard Price Jr., 16, was abducted from the construction site of the National Candy Company's new factory on Gravois.
Who's doing the construction?
Geekery Brothers.
Oh my god.
They're like in everything. How are they getting all these contracts?
June 14th, 1927. Metro section. Baby missing. An infant was taken from her stroller in Lyon Park early yesterday afternoon. Sophia Heyerberg, the 3-month-old daughter of Frederick and Lenore Heyerberg, was supervised by the family nanny at the time of the abduction. Police have no leads. June 19th, 1927. Metro section. Girl struck by auto identified. Girl killed by a motorist on Broadway yesterday was identified as Maudlin Millen, age 16. Brandon Millen, Maudlin's father and co-owner of Millen and Moore Railroad Supply Company, told reporters that she had been at Lyon Park when she got into a spat with her fiancé. Then she ran into traffic and was struck by a motorist. Maudlin's fiancé, Archibald Laclede, was unavailable for comment.
I looked at Julia. She had switched from taking notes and began sketching the wall designs and drawings into her notebook. As she sketched, I looked at a notebook and realized something that I had missed. A repeated element among the tendrils of the centralized pattern. A swirled symbol. The same that was found on the back of the black-on-black invitation that Finn showed us at the Jesuit house, matching the one tacked here to the wall. The reason that the symbol didn't click with me initially was that it was very understated, almost in the background. But now that it became apparent to me, it stood out in almost everything. A beautifully sublime, seemingly subconscious design. I turned away in time to see Clarence moving toward the door, a hand to his head. He didn't look good, and I decided to leave the others and followed him outside and up the stairs. My concern for his condition was ebbed as I stepped outside and saw him heading to a phone booth on their corner. He stood there, door of the callbacks open, for several moments trying to light a cigarette with a soggy matchbook. I approached and offered him my lighter. He nodded and smiled as he told the operator the number he was trying to reach.
Clarence, what happened to you? I found blood on the floor. The police told me there was a man shot and killed in your office. They wouldn't tell me anything more.
I left you a note.
That barely legible thing. All I could make out was that the blood wasn't yours. You have a lot of explaining to do.
I'm sorry, Betty.
When are you coming in?
Betty, I'm not going to be coming in at all today, no. Unless something pressing is...
Charles Falstaff is in your office.
His face turned white.
That's pressing. Jack dropped off me and Julie at my office. He and Evan wanted to research a few of the details we'd uncovered and decided that the university library was the best place to do that. Covington seemed to take an interest in the article about the girl who